Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome back to Kingdom Cast. This is your host, Bad Luck Chuck. And over to the top right-hand corner is my guy, Boogie. Represent Protect Your Garments. Shout out to Carrington Harrison for that. He's still selling those, by the way. The bottom left-hand corner is my guy, Country. And we got a special guest this week. He is the current NFL film and college draft analyst. He is with Arrowhead Pride. We'd like to welcome Matt Lane to this week's episode of Kingdom Cast. Matt, how you doing this evening?
Oh man, I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me on. This is going to be fun. Been hadn't jumped on here with you guys before, so I'm excited. I'm ready to see how you guys get down.
Oh yeah, most definitely. We want to see how you get down too, man. You know a lot of things about the game, so let's get right to it, man. I know Chiefs Kingdom's a little bit disappointed with free agency as it stands, but we did bring back a few guys that did contribute to the teams that made it to the Super Bowl. The recent one that got signed was DeMarcus Robinson. He signed to a veteran minimum contract on a 1-year deal. I know parts of Chiefs Kingdom, they was disappointed that they didn't get Josh Reynolds, but when you look into their production in the past 2 seasons, DeMarcus has been the more productive player. So to me, I felt like that they did the right thing in bringing back DeMarcus. Like, I really didn't see missing out Josh Reynolds as a big deal. So Matt, you had quite a bit to say on this in regards to DeMarcus and Josh Reynolds. So let's get your input on that real quick.
Yeah, man. No, I think I'm just kind of like the local Kansas City Chiefs fan that's the Josh Reynolds fan as well. I just think he's been wildly misused there with the Rams. Like with that Sean McVay offense, they don't really use their outside receivers at all. So everything goes through Robert Woods behind the line of scrimmage or to Cooper Kupp out of the slot. So I just think he's been a little underutilized. I think he would have been a guy that's not a great second wide receiver for a team, but there's potentials there. He's only been in the league 4 years. There's a chance he could grow. So I was a big fan if the Chiefs could have got him. They didn't, and I don't think you miss out on a lot. Like you said, DeMarcus Robinson's been just as productive. I don't think it's a huge missed opportunity. I just think that, you're missing out on a little bit of potential that way. But, you can't blame Josh Reynolds either, because who was the last? I just got a question for you guys now. I mean, we got Sammy Watkins signed with the Ravens just right before we jumped on here for $8 million, I believe it was. But outside him, who was the last Chiefs offensive player to, go out and get a big payday elsewhere?
That's a great question.
Or Wilson, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. It's Albert Wilson coming off a couple years ago, and that just didn't really pan out. So, if you're wondering, I just think this goes out to everyone's wondering why free agents aren't choosing to come to Kansas City. I think that might be a way right there. If you're looking for a short-term deal, trying to cash in later, like Josh Reynolds, like Juju Smith-Schuster were, you don't really have that pedigree of Chiefs players going out and signing big deals after they leave the team.
Yeah,
that's true.
My thing is this: I seen what Ken Swanson tweeted. He was talking about. I don't know if this is true or not. He asked the question are agents not happy with how the Chiefs structure players' contracts? I mean, is there any kind of truth to that, or is it just something that's just being thrown out there?
I mean, I've heard that there might be some possibility that agents aren't happy with the way, and it's not necessarily with the Chiefs, because it's come back to the player, but the lack of signing bonus, the lack of guaranteed upfront money that Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes took means that agents get less guaranteed money. The teams have all the control. So there's rumors that agents could be displeased with that. But I think you've also seen enough guys like Trent Williams and just these other guys that were interested in coming to the Chiefs. So I don't know if it's fully true, but I don't think the agents love the fact that Chiefs got such team-friendly deals last year.
Okay.
Happy birthday to Kent, by the way.
There you go. Shout out, Kent. Kent's kind of old man.
Shout out to Kent, man. Happy birthday. The hair is glorious. Speaking of Trent Williams, I'm so over Trent Williams. I don't want to hear nothing else about you. I almost came to Kansas City, and Kansas City was the spot. And I was on the pool. I was on the plane in Kansas City, and then, man, shut up. I don't want to hear it no more. Shut up. Just shut up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, bro. We're talking games from the Celtics right now, man, with these almost.
No. Didn't he kind of overboard it? That quote was on the timeline 50 times. Yeah, I was damn near in Kansas City, and I was pulling up out of Columbia, and then Kyle Shanahan called me. Man, shut up, man. Nobody want to hear that.
2-3 players did that though. we came down to the end of 2-3 players.
Yeah. So Veach is fighting. Like, he's not like taking it and just cowering in the corner. Like he's out here he's trying to make moves. You know, it's more things than just saying, hey, you want to play with Pat. It's got to be more than that.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing too. Is like you can't come out there trying to lowball. Not that they for all these guys, but you can't go out there and lowball guys that have been around the league just because they're going to get a play with Patrick Mahomes. Like, not everybody responds to like that line of a sales pitch. So he's going out there. Brett Veach is certainly trying. Like, we all know how he's trying. We've heard the deals that they've offered. He's trying his best to get guys in here. He just struggled to close with some of the deals this year is all.
So what about the defense?
Sorry, what was that?
What about defense though? What's stopping them from doing something about that too?
About the defense. What's stopping them from making acquisition on defense?
So my theory, and I mean, this is just my theory, I think they were so in on Trent Williams, and it was, country, but it was close. They were close to getting him, so they couldn't go out and spend money. And that first wave, when you got all the defensive ends or some of the younger, more coveted corners coming off the board, I think they were just too busy thinking that they had a certain amount of cash wrapped up going to Trent Williams. And then as soon as that got pulled out from under them, they were left sitting there Wednesday morning when like actual free agency started. And they're just like, oh, there's not really anybody left now that's worth paying a ton of money to. That's just my thought process on it, though.
I think I talked to Bear. I don't know if it was you or Bearcat. Do you think like Veach was so dead set on Trent Williams? Should he have started like a timeline, like a time frame of like, look, dude, I need an answer by Tuesday, or I'm moving on. I think they just waited too long on Trent Williams, and I understand because he's the number one target, and you just got Tony and Kyle Long and whatever. But that would have been a nice solid off season right there. They could have just stopped after that for real, but I think he just waited too long on Trent Williams. But I get it, but I don't get it. Like, they should have gave him
you got to read the tea leaves a little bit, right? Like, Trent Williams is saying he wants to retire a 49er. He loves the system. This is where he wants to be. Richard Sherman's going on his podcast with Chris Collinsworth telling you like months ago he's going to be in San Francisco. So if you're Brett Veach, even though you're close to landing Williams, you do kind of have to start working on some other moves when he's not saying yes as soon as you put that big offer out there. And I'm with you. I think they might have just held on a little bit too long thinking they were going to get him. And that's where you missed out on all the, a lot of the better talent on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. Cause but yeah, honestly though, I think in this NFL draft, we can find some contributors, but like you said, I mean, I don't know. Cause honestly, I was more concerned about our franchise. Cause at the end of the day, like, without him on the field, we're just a completely different team, and I just want him to have a long-lasting career. Now, yesterday I was on Clubhouse and NFL free agency room opened up. Darius Butler and Antoine Bethea, they host the man-to-man pod. Shout out to them. I hopped in the room and I got a chance to ask them. Brian McFadden used to be a Steeler, and Joy Taylor about NFL free agency, and I asked them about Alejandro Villanueva because I think he's still available at left tackle. So, Matt, I want to get your opinion on Alejandro Villanueva. They said he's a pretty decent option for the Chiefs. Now, when I seen him on film, like his technique was cool. He moved his feet pretty well, but nothing really popped off the screen for me. So, I want to get your opinion on Alejandro Villanueva. Can he be a key contributor and protect our franchise quarterback?
Yeah, he's a hard one because I think as Chiefs fans, we all saw him play, in big games, playing very well against the Chiefs for so long. So like, I think we all kind of have that memory of him kind of instilled in our brains. But if you go back and watch him these last couple of years, I think he's on the cusp of all of his kind of just movement ability. He's getting older. He doesn't look like he comes out of his stance with the same explosions he did even 5 years ago. So when you combine that with the guy of his height, and he's like 6'8", he just has a lot of leverage issues. I think he's helped a lot by that Steelers scheme where they're getting the ball out in 2 to 3 seconds nonstop. I'd be terrified if he was trying to protect 10 yards deep when Pat starts drifting back in the pocket, because I just don't think he can get that deep anymore. But if you're signing him for a 1-year deal for $5 million, I don't see the negative to that part of it.
Okay, and then there was another left tackle. His last name is Wagner. His first name is escaping my mind. From the
Ricky
Detroit.
Wagner. Is it Ricky?
There it is, Ricky Wagner. There it is. Okay.
From Green Bay.
Yeah. So, okay. So, what do you think about that option as a possibility for the Chiefs?
Yeah, I like Ricky Wagner. I think that he would have made a ton of sense if you still needed a right tackle. And it's not that I don't think he has the ability to play left. It's just he's been around the NFL for a while now. I think he's only played right tackle for Detroit and then Green Bay. So you'd be asking him to switch sides this late into his career, or just kind of joining that competition with Niang and Rimmers on the right side. So not against it by any means. It's just he's never played on the left side. So you have to figure out how you're going to move people around would be the only issue.
Okay.
I think the best option right now, and it's not the best option, is probably Russell Okung. You just go get him, and you force the box of. Well, you know what? Not necessarily drafting a left tackle at 31, because I think it's plenty of left tackles. Like, this is the best year for us to have the needs we have. This is the best draft for the needs that we have this year, I think, in my opinion. So we need a left tackle. There's tons of left tackles. We need decent, tons of edge guys out there. So I think we can help ourselves with the draft, but I would like a veteran option to hold it down for 8 to 10 weeks until your rookie is ready to go.
Yeah, and Okung would be like my first choice as well. Now, I mean, you run into the issue of his health is, he's only played, 19 games or 13 games over the last 3 years or something. So the health issue's there. But like you said, even if you sign Russell Okung, you're going to be drafting an offensive tackle in the first 2 days of the draft. Like, you're going to be bringing in somebody anyway. So if you get him even for only 6 games this year, that's 6 games of equal to Eric Fisher level play at the left side. And then you're bringing in that rookie that's hopefully learned a little bit behind him for that first half of the season. So I'm with you. I think that's the best way to go at this point in time. Heck, maybe Eric Fisher's feeling healthy after week 6 or 7, and you want to bring Eric Fisher back at that point in time if you start having Russell Okung come up with injury issues. There's options that if you get a guy as good as he is when healthy, that you can figure it out down the road.
Is that the secret option right there? The Eric Fisher comes through in week 7 option. I like this sounds far-fetched, but not really. If you think about it, like, Eric Fisher could be moving around pretty good by week 6, and you come in, just bring him in. He'll be cheap.
Right. And I think it's a possibility. Like, I definitely can't say no. There's been no rumors about any team being interested in him. So does he know when he's going to be healthy? He's got somewhere to come back to. Is that something that the Chiefs had as their fallback plan if they don't land Trent Williams? Like, you don't know, but there's a chance that he's going to be ready by the middle of the season to come back and play. As long as he's not on another team, you would have to assume the Chiefs are the front runners to get his services.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Have we signed Ryder yet? Is he back?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Like, so do we have Allegretti. Stoney can play center, but like I said on the last show, if he's excellent at left guard, leave him at left guard. Don't move him nowhere. Just leave him where he's excellent at. Why would you move him? Who else is a center? Darrell Williams is a center, or was he a right tackle? He's like
he was a center.
Free agent. He's a center. So you got 2 unexperienced centers on the roster right now. Is that what we're looking at?
I think so. I'm trying to rack my brain if I remember anybody else snapping before, but I don't think so. I mean, I think that's what you're looking at is Joe Thuney could play center. You don't want him to. I don't think the Chiefs have that in their plans. So then you're going to either start Allegretti, who hasn't really played center in a meaningful game for the Chiefs. And then, yeah, you have Darrell Williams, who was an undrafted free agent who played center at Mississippi State 2 years ago. So that's what you have.
Yeah. What I was about to say is that
What if Tony just started left tackle?
Right. Like we do sign Okung, man. You looking at possible injury-riddled offensive line because, like you said, he got an injury history recently, and Kyle Long got a recent injury history. So if you're gonna do that, man, the Chiefs they really gotta go heavy on offensive line in the draft, just so we can have some depth in case that happens again.
Okay,
For sure.
I got a good question, Matt. I got a question real fast. I'm sorry. Tony is so good at left guard. Does your left tackle have to be above average? Can he be average and Tony helps him? It's like Eric Fisher played better with a quality left guard next to him, in my opinion. Does the left tackle have to be – they don't have to be elite. Can they just be average and Tony helps him because he's above or he's an elite guard?
Yeah.
So it kind of takes the pressure off of him.
It definitely helps. I mean, if you get better guard, Joe Tooney is going to be the best guard play that any offensive tackle that has played for the Chiefs has had since you're going back to Will Shields. So, I mean, that's definitely going to help. The issue you have right now, just a little bit with Andy Reid, is they play their blocking scheme has their tackles on an island so much, and they run so many vertical concepts that a guard can only help so much when you're having to block for a 7-step drop. So when you need to block for 2.7 seconds, you need to get to 8-9 yards of depth. That guard can really only take away the inside move. So you still have to have the functional athleticism and the balance to get that deep, but you don't have to be the strongest guy. I think that's kind of where it's helped Fisher. Bull rushing, strong power rushers gave him issues, but when you put a strong guard next to him, a good player, that could help him in the inside moves that just let him explode out of his stance. So it can help to some degree, but you still got to have a guy that has some mobility to play out there on the edge.
Okay. Yeah. So what was your – I'm sorry, Chuck, I interrupted you on your question. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I thought you had something else to say, honestly. But before
so Villanueva, I guess he wouldn't be a bad option with Tony next to him. But I do like the Russell Okung because I think he's going to be extra cheap. And then my theory is once you start your rookie, you can't really bench him. So once you go with him, you got to go. You just got to go in the fire. So it'd be easier to replace Okung, in my opinion, than a Villanueva. Because Villanueva, he's not like the injury-prone guy. He starts. You know what I'm saying? So it'd be harder to replace him with a rookie, to just throw him in the fire.
Yeah, if you were going to move on from from Villanueva, you would just do it because of performance issues. Like that would be the only reason you would have to bench him. You don't get a bench, a veteran guy that's getting the job done for an unknown rookie. So if he got benched, it would be because of his performance. You then can't go back to him because you're killing the rookies, just morale. You're making him feel bad about himself. You're bringing a vet that you already benched once. Whereas if it's Okung, chances are he's going to get hurt at some point in time, and that gives you a free pass to try your rookie tackle out. If he plays good, you keep him in. If he doesn't play well, whenever Russell Okung's healthy, you can cycle him back in. I just think that saves everybody a little bit. So it's an easier path to work the rookie in with him. But I mean, either way, you need a vet. I think you need a veteran guy in there so you're not forced to draft that starting tackle for day one in this draft.
Right. So at 31, it looks like I actually is 31 too early to get the center? Because I think you can circle back in the second round and get the left tackle. Or is that crazy?
So if I'm sitting there at 31. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's crazy.
No, go ahead.
You said I was crazy. So
yeah,
I say crazy. What everybody say? Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, no, you're good. At 31, my only issue with the center would be in the first round would be the only guy that I think is really worth a first round pick on the interior is Landon Dickerson. And we were talking about earlier about the injury prone offensive line already. Are you going to draft a guy that's got multiple ACL injuries, an ankle injury in round one? I don't know if I'm willing to draft any other center that early in this particular class because, like tackle, it's a pretty deep interior offensive line class as well.
Yeah, because I was thinking like for pick 31, get like the best left tackle available, and then like in round 2, I mean, if you want to go center, that's cool. But the other option would be like an edge rusher opposite of Frank Clark. If we don't address that in free agency already, that's what I would think.
Yeah, that'd be my
Center's
preferred way
not a
too.
Position. Yeah, center's not a position of need like that. Like that's not a left tackle is more important.
Yeah,
that's the most
right. Especially after you
position,
pay 2 guards. Like if you pay 2 guards, you don't need to spend a first round pick to play in between them as well. In my opinion.
No, not when you don't have a left tackle at all.
Yeah,
but then for the defensive end part, like I would love for the Chiefs to be able to draft like a defensive end in round 1, especially because like Country was saying, there's a deep tackle class. There's a chance you can find a developmental guy on day 2. So if he gets to sit behind, Villanueva or Okung for half a year or the full year, and you can snag a Jackson Carman, a James Hudson, these are just offensive tackles that I think are roughly in that range in round 2, and you get to draft one of these really good defensive ends that fall to the end of round 1. Why not? Because you really do need a pass rusher across from Frank Clark. You might need someone to take over Frank Clark's number 1 defensive end role sooner rather than later if he can't get back on track to where he was 2 years ago. So I would love to get to take that position earlier rather than later. That's just round 1 defensive ends have a much higher hit rate in the NFL than any other round.
Yeah.
We can always sign Tano Pasio back.
That's right around the corner, I'm sure.
So Matt, I know you've been okay. So like the pro day, I think the pro days have started this week for all the prospects. How much stock do you place in the pro day? I mean, do you put stock into it at all?
It's hard. Like the measurements of guys' heights, weights, arm length, I think do serve a purpose. Like you can really find some trends with every single team and the types of player profiles they like. So stuff like that, yes. When you have the combine obviously is a lot more weighted than a pro day because it's a lot more controlled. Pro days kind of are just secondary numbers. But this year, we have nothing else for athletic testing. You kind of have to pay a ton of attention. And when you start seeing the list of teams that go to these pro days, if the Chiefs haven't been to a pro day, I'd be really skeptical on how interested they are in those players. With the COVID this last year, I don't know how much they've been able to get out to these schools and meet with the coaching staff, the players, and talk to them about these prospects. So if they don't go to the Michigan Pro Day, for example, which they did, I would just have assumed they're not interested in those guys because that's their only chance to really meet and talk to them.
Speaking of Michigan, I like that wide receiver, Nico Collins, maybe. Is that his name?
Yeah, Nico Collins, he had himself a day. He's a crazy athlete, and like he was supposed to have a huge year this year, but then he opted out with COVID-19 stuff. He went down to the Senior Bowl, looked pretty good when we were down there. He didn't blow anyone away, but he looked like a size, speed, athletic freak, and he tested just like that. I mean, he would give the Chiefs what they're missing, in terms of size at the wide receiver position.
Let me tell you guys something. I'm not fond of Michigan wide receivers. We have failed in that department the past few times. Jehu Chesson, he didn't have a long career in the NFL. Jerry Hemingway, he didn't have a long career in the NFL. I mean, I pretty much wants to stay away from Michigan wide receivers moving forward. I'm just saying, we haven't had great luck with those guys.
But you know why they suck, right?
Why? Because
their names suck. Jehu Chesson, that's not a good name. That's not a football name. Nico Collins is a football name. No, I like Jehu and Junior Hemingway. Junior Hemingway was cool. He never called him.
You like everybody.
I'm talking about he was cool as a person. Like I met him before.
Oh, okay.
I don't talk about his on the field activities. I'm talking about at Westport. He was cool. No, we do need a wide receiver. You know what? It's just I've been doing mock drafts, and when it comes to receivers, I like the kid from Florida State. Who's the kid? Frank Darby. Is Frank Darby any good? because he's always available in my mock in the late rounds. I'd be like, should I take this guy? Or what's the kid? Damani Brown? Damani Brown?
Yeah, Diami Brown.
North Carolina. Yeah.
What's his name?
Diami Brown from North Carolina.
Oh, it's spelled crazy, but okay.
I know what you're talking about, though. He's pretty good.
So Frank Darby is a character, man. He did not stop running his mouth, talking smack, just having fun, singing, dancing the entire time at the Senior Bowl. Like, he was the most fun person down there that you could have possibly had. And yeah, he's a good player. I don't know. You're probably looking at him in the middle of day 3 if you want to grab him, maybe early day 3. But he's certainly a guy worth snagging. He's got good size, good athleticism. There's still needs to fix some stuff, but he's definitely a guy worth snagging. I think at that time, he'll be a fan favorite instantly. Like, his personality, people will absolutely love. It's contagious. And then now, if you want to go earlier, Diami Brown out of North Carolina. He's one of my favorite receivers. I think he was my 5th rated receiver in this draft class, and he's just one of the best vertical threats, but he doesn't do it with just speed. He's just such a good route runner when he's going vertically. He's really competitive, trying to get some contested catches. I would love for the Chiefs to be able to get him at the end of the 2nd round. I just think that stock's going to kind of start climbing the closer we get, and he's going to be a guy that if they wanted him, they would have to take at the end of round 1 without trading back and taking him sometime at the beginning of the 2nd round.
Yeah, and I like Elijah Moore from Ole Miss, but the thing is, though, he's pretty much the same size as Tyreek. You know what I mean? So we need a taller receiver that's gonna run Chris routes and be more like a possession guy on the team. So that's my only thing. Yeah,
no, for sure. And like, it doesn't have to be a huge guy. We don't need a 6'4" receiver. Just give me an average sized receiver and I'm happy. And like, I love Elijah Moore. I think he might even be able to play outside a little bit, kind of, not that he is Tyreek Hill, but like Tyreek Hill, he can play outside. You just like him in the slot more. And I don't know if he fits with Hill, with Hardman. That's a lot of guys that operate in the same space.
Right.
See, I'm a guy that's big on football names. So I like Ben Cleveland, because that's like a great football name. I like the kid from Syracuse. I think he's from Syracuse. Is his name Trill Williams?
Trill Williams.
I just want to draft him simply because of his name. Like, that's the best name in the draft. Trill Williams. Like, if you're from
I
Texas,
got you. What about Rached Wildgoose, cornerback from Wisconsin?
Never heard.
And I heard he's good too.
He's pretty good. Yeah, he's a nickel kind of guy. He's stout. He's physical. He likes to hit people. But yeah, Wild Goose, like that. That's my top name this year's Rached Wild Goose.
Yeah, that's a name right there. There's what's the other guy? Josh. I ain't gonna even try to pronounce his last name.
I'm not either.
What college? What college?
He got this like 17 long name.
Illinois. It's like a Mitter Bebe or something like that. Like, it's Illinois wide receiver though. He had like a 46-inch vertical jump at his pro day. He's just like a super raw, super athlete. But yeah, I can't pronounce that name to save my life.
Yeah, he killed his pro. He killed his pro day. He had a hell of a pro day for real. He had crazy numbers. So defensive end, like, who do you like? Who would you like in round 1 and at the edge?
So it's hard because I don't think there's any top 10 talents at the edge position in this class. Like, I don't think any of these guys are a lock to go top 10 or top 15. So it's hard to pick where they're going to come off the board. Like, I would love Kwity Paye to fall to 31. I just don't think he will, but I can't say yes or no. Same with Jason Owa. I think the Penn State kid, he has 0 sacks last year. So like, I think going into kind of his pro day or this offseason, not a lot of people thought that he could be a first round guy, but 6'5", 250, 260 pounds, and you run a sub 4.40, the kind of testing he had, that just goes in the first round. So if you give me either one of those guys or Jalen Phillips out of Miami, like if any one of them are there, they would be my first pick, probably over any offensive tackle or wide receiver that would still be available, most likely.
What about the kid from Notre Dame, Devlin Hayes? Or Damon?
Hayes. Yeah, Dalen Hayes out of Notre Dame. He's fun. I definitely have him as a more of a second rounder right now, which if you don't get one in the first round, I think he would be him, Jordan Smith out of UAB. Like these are guys that I think would make good second round picks where you don't know if they're ever going to be a star, but they can come in and help you for sure. And so like he would be a guy, he's very much a Steve Spagnuolo type defensive end. He definitely fits the majority of the thresholds. He can play. Take him at the end of the second round. Maybe you get lucky. He's there in the third. Absolutely. But it's just as far as like the hit rate, if you want a star defensive end, you better take him on day one or you're looking at just such a severe lack of chance of it happening.
Okay. So you believe that.
So we have some. Go ahead, Charlie.
Okay. So you believe that this edge class is kind of scarce as far as prospects. In your opinion?
Yeah, there's this very specific pocket, I think, that you're going to find that's going to start coming off the board in the middle of the first round. And I think by around pick 50, after that, you're kind of not going to be looking at guys that are going to be the complete package. They're either going to be good run defenders. Maybe they're ready on day one, but they kind of have a limited upside. They're just mostly going to be a base defensive end run defender that gives you a little bit of pass rush. Or you get some guys that are big projects that you just might need to spend 3, 4, 5 years getting them ready. But that's the way it kind of is every year. I just don't think there's this top end talent for sure, but there's a handful. I think we have 4 guys with top 50, 5 guys with top 50 grades in the KC draft guides. Like that's 5 guys that probably will go in round 1 or around the end of the first round. Like that's not bad for the edge rusher group. It's just you're missing the Joey Bosa or that at the top.
Gotcha. Okay, so real quick before I let you have the floor, country. Speaking of like run stuff and edge guys, a lot of past few years, Chiefs Kingdom's been talking about Jadeveon Clowney as an option. So now Jadeveon Clowney, I think a lot of us expected him to be like this top pass rusher, but it's not really the case. He's more of a run stuffing dude. So like, what's the big infatuation with Jadeveon Clowney? Like he's good, but what's the big infatuation with him besides him being more of a run stopping specialist?
It's just the fact that he was such a good for a year college player. He has this very high belief. When you're a 5-star recruit that everybody knows, that carries weight going into the NFL. Like it doesn't matter if your college career is up and down, if it's down. If you were a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, NFL cares. So Clowney has been this well-known name for, a decade now. People knew about him in high school. He's made it to the NFL. He's had some good years. He's never lived up to the potential, but you're getting a solid, well above average player. He just isn't going to carry your team with his pass rush. And if you bring him onto the Chiefs to be their third best pass rusher, I think that's kind of the ideal spot for him. Take the pressure off of him as a pass rusher, let him defend the run, and then just be a really big, really explosive guy. Maybe he lucks into another 8 sacks like he did with Houston a couple of years ago.
Okay.
That'll be in the rotation with Taco. Him and Taco rotating. That'll be nice. I wouldn't be mad about it. It shouldn't be expensive at all.
Oh, so country, you need a life raft, bro. Get you a life raft real quick.
What happened?
You sound like you need a life raft, bro.
Oh, okay, all right. Am I better now?
No, you better come out, come back.
Am I good?
Yeah, come out, come back in. Okay, all right, Boogie. Boogie, you got anything, bro? You've been kind of quiet up there.
Yeah,
tonight.
but so is free agency over for the Chiefs?
No, I think we're all kind of know in the back of our minds right now that Tano Pasnio or Alex Okafor is going to be back. Like they're going to bring back some more guys that were here last year. I think we all kind of know that, but they're going to go out. They're going to sign some of these 1-year veterans, whether it's a tackle like an Okung, whether they do get Melvin Ingram to come back in. Although a veteran leaving after a visit doesn't scream that they're close to me. But maybe they land a Clowney, an Ingram, somebody. They'll land a couple 1-year veteran deals, I think, before free agency's over. But yeah, I don't think we should hold our breath on getting kind of a long or even just like a medium-term starter out of the free agency at this point in time.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as free agency is concerned, man, it's been crazy how the Chiefs have been close on a lot of these guys that they've gone after. I know recently, earlier in the show today, we talked about nickel corner. Like we talked about the Chiefs possibly looking at a nickel corner in the draft. They brought in K'Wan Williams to possibly get signed here. I mean, essentially, man, like, how come you think? Do you think the Chiefs are more locked in? I mean, not the Chiefs, but do you think these players are more concerned about, necessarily saying their own brand or their own bag rather than necessarily winning the Super Bowl these days?
I mean, it's entirely possible. It sure seems that way. And like we kind of talked about at the beginning earlier, is the Chiefs don't have the defensive side of the ball has been a little bit better because you can rely on like a Kendall Fuller or an Emmanuel Ogbah. But like offensively, especially, they just haven't done a good job getting guys paid in free agency. They keep their own guys around. That's who gets the most use. Guys they bring in are kind of up and down. So like, I think that's a little bit of the issue you run into. And then besides that, I think everybody's expecting the cap to be really big next year or the year after. They're trying to just be as good as they can with what they know right now and get paid later. They might not see the Chiefs as the place where they can go show off the most this particular season.
Okay.
I can definitely see Juju coming back next year.
We would have did a little more, right?
I was hoping they'd do more. Yeah, they cleared a lot of space. Like, I think they tried to use it, and I think they got too stuck on Trent Williams for a little while, and then they got caught in this trap of they don't want to overpay a guy just because it's that point of free agency. I just think the issue is at this point, you need to fill your roster out. It's like if you have to overpay a guy a little bit to fill a roster spot at this point in time, I mean, you kind of might have to. You're running lower on options, paying K'Wan Williams $3 million instead of, the 2.4 that it would have cost might be worth the extra little bit of money because you have it to spend and you need another corner.
Well, the rumor mill says that K'Wan, his knee is kind of jacked up a little bit. I don't know if that's true, but that's what's floating around. But it still would have been a good signing, in my opinion. Am I sounding crazy now? Or I'm good.
You a little better. You a little better. I mean, we can work with.
What's wrong?
But yeah, Matt.
Okay. I was gonna ask. There.
Okay. Yeah, Country, you kind of breaking up again, man. I'm sorry, dude. Okay, Matt. So I want to ask you this, man. Where do you currently stand at with this Kansas City Chiefs football team?
I think on the field, this team is fantastic. You have Andy Reid, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have the best coach quarterback combination in the NFL. That's going to put you in the Super Bowl conversation every single year. But the issue with football is it's one and done once you get to the playoffs. It just takes one game for Patrick Mahomes not to be great, one game for Andy Reid to get out coached, and it can be over. If you don't have a deep roster behind it to help cover those things, that's where you start getting into some of the disappointments that you've gotten in the past with like the Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, Peyton Manning and the Colts, Drew Brees and the Saints, these teams with great quarterbacks, good coaches, only winning one Super Bowl. You have to protect yourself from that through your roster. And I just think the Chiefs are kind of teetering on the edge of trying to figure out how to do that going forward, but also trying to win right now. And I just would like to see them kind of pick a direction. I feel like they're trying to go both ways right now and not really accomplishing either.
Okay, that's pretty fair assessment. Country, try again now, man, if you can.
We was having to talk about the draft, and what's your definition, or what would you consider to be a home run draft? We always hear that was a home run draft for these needs, this great draft. What would you consider that to be, in your opinion, a good draft for Brett Beach?
If you come out of a draft and you get one impactful starter, so I mean, I'm going to say that as a guy that's in consideration for like Pro Bowl voting or something like that. Like there's not a definition, but one impact starter, another guy that is a quality starter. And then if you just give me one more guy that can contribute after that, that's a home run draft. Like that's a draft that you will get once every 5 years for a team. That's rarely going to happen, that you're going to get 3 guys that are contributing at this super high level. And I know we can pick out some drafts of every team that kind of has that, but when I'm in the starters, the big part, another quality starter, like that's asking for a lot to have 2 rookies come in and be worthy of a starting position on a football field. Like that's a huge deal. And I don't think that everybody understands how hard that is to do.
Yeah, it's like I understand like fans are upset about free agency and they're not Beach is not closing on deals and everybody's upset. He's frustrated. We all frustrated. I am too, even me. So, but to think that Brett Beach is going to go out and draft 5 Pro Bowl players in this draft is just ridiculous. Like the draft is a total crapshoot every year. You shooting dice every year. You might crap out. I mean, you might jump a door, though, but who knows? But quality guys and one or 2 quality guys, 1 star. That's a hell of a draft for me.
That's what makes it worse. He didn't do better in free agency, man.
Right. And now you go into the draft with specific holes that you have to fill with these home run picks. Like you now have to nail these picks at this egregiously high level in the draft, in which nobody hits 100%. Nobody hits 50% in the draft. And now you've put all this pressure to make sure you accomplish it all through the draft because you didn't help in free agency as much as you probably could have. That's where you run into an issue. I mean, this past 2020 draft, I think we all consider maybe not a home run, but a great draft by Brett Veach. But I mean, realistically, you only got impactful starter play from L'Jarius Sneed. And then kind of after that, you're just getting kind of the other guys that got big playing snaps are kind of run of the mill. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think he has a bright future, but he was still just an average running back, maybe slightly below when you look at some of the advanced metrics. Willie Gay still developing. Lucas Niang opted out. Like it was a great draft. Mike Dana played well. It was a great draft, but you still only got really like 1+ starter the first year out of that whole thing. And it was a day 3 pick that like just nobody else saw coming. Like that's kind of how the draft works. You can't expect to land multiple starters immediately.
Yeah, so the pressure is really on for Brett Veach to just have like a straight A draft basically this offseason in the position we're in right now. So we just going to have to see what happens, man. Hopefully the chips fall in our favor and things work out for itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. And so, it's a solid draft. Oh, go ahead, Country.
So we all the consensus is the first Brett Veach draft was the worst one, right? The Breland speech disaster. We did get Noddy out of that draft. Who else did we get out of that draft? That was basically it.
That's
it.
So a guy told me that last year, not the 2020, but the 2019 draft was even worse than that. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, how could it be worse than that? We did get Juan Thornhill. We got Fenton was in that draft, right? Last 19. Who else did we get out of that draft?
I mean, you got McCole Hardman, who is not everyone's favorite, but he's played. He's been a productive player on a football team. I believe Nick Allegretti came out of that draft as well. So, I mean, you've got plenty of players. You got plenty of players to choose from there. So his drafts have definitely gotten better and better and better. So, like, there's your silver lining hope that this draft is going good. He's starting to understand the process. I just think you still have to hold up just a little bit because the draft is just not that simple.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I just want to.
Well, you say it, man. Say it. I see it on your face. Say it, bro.
I don't know. We can't trust Veach drafting like that. I'm pro Veach, but his drafting ain't been that good, man.
Yeah, it's incredibly hit or miss for a guy that Like, I think people crushed John Dorsey for being very hit or miss with his drafts because it was very athletic based heavy. So he either hit home runs or he completely whiffed. But Brett Veach has been very similar without it just being super athletes that he's hitting or missing on. But when he's got some big swings and big misses, then he's found some guys that have been good. I think this is a big year. I mean, this draft right now, because they have so many needs, this is going to make or break, I think, how a lot of people see him as a, talent evaluator going forward.
Do you think that maybe, I don't know how to say it. Do you think that maybe Andy Reid handicaps him or vice versa? Because I know Andy Reid has input on who they draft. He has to. I mean, it's Andy Reid. Do you think Andy Reid picks a guy and says, no matter what, we're getting this guy? And Brett Veach, because
Andy Reid's the entire checks and balances system. Like, he has final power to say complete no. Like, he can just reject everything. He can push. I think he can push somebody through, but I think Andy Reid does a good job letting Veach and his staff do their job with his input. But if he doesn't like somebody, I do think Andy Reid will 100% say no and shut it down right there. Like, he is the guy that's in control. Don't ever forget that. Like, Andy Reid controls everything about the Chiefs right now. So it probably does make Veach's job harder, but I also think that's part of why Veach has the job, is because him and Andy are aligned with how they think right now. They work well together. So it helps him and hurts him. But at the end of the day, like, I don't think Andy messes with the defense very much, at least. I'll just go that far. Like, I don't think Andy Reid does a whole lot with that defense at all in terms of talent acquisition.
Okay.
What about Dave Tobe, though?
Don't get me started.
Oh, you're not a Dave Tobe fan? You're not a Dave Tobe fan, man?
Man, Dave Tobe has had the most help for his special teams units his entire career, and they've been good. But, like, it's hard not to be good when you get, like, 8 dedicated players to just play special teams. Like, I feel like not many other teams get that luxury that the Chiefs do. And then now that the special teams is kind of sliding back towards average, it's time to start pulling some of those special teams only flyers back. You don't get that many when you're the 10th best special teams unit instead of the first.
Got you, man.
Shout out to Marcus Kemp. We love you.
Marcus, for sure. So, man, I want to bring this up, man. I mean, I thought we had moved past the Super Bowl, but apparently not. I seen a clip from First Take. I don't really watch that show anymore, but it just came up on my timeline. Ray Lewis is talking about the second quarter of the Super Bowl, claims that he stopped watching the Super Bowl because of some of the questionable calls that were calling on the Chiefs and everything. And he's saying that the fabric of the game is starting to be ruined. Like, a lot of people saying that it's more of an offensively driven league, which it is. I mean, it is a little more offensive. But what I want to ask you is this. Do you think the fabric of the game of football is starting to be stripped away quite a bit?
I don't think you're there yet, but I do think you have to start pumping the brakes on any more rule changes that trend this direction. Like, I think you're about as far as you can get into assisting the offense to make it a more appealing program to watch for everybody. If you go any further than this, though, it is going to get to the point to where, not that you're not playing football, but you've just kind of altered the rules so much that it just looks like a different game. Now, I don't think the Super Bowl is quite that bad. Like, I get what he's saying, but I also don't. I think that's a little bit hyperbolic from a guy that loves defense, probably wants to be considered as the best player, ever over Tom Brady. That's probably where some of this comes from, knowing who it's coming from. But, I mean, it's an offensive-driven league. Everyone knows it. You have to play within those parameters. As long as it doesn't get any worse, I think you're okay where it is right now.
Okay, because it is starting to trend a little more offensive, but like you said, it hasn't really got that crazy yet, but there are some like questionable calls out on the field where you feel like it was a good hit by the defense player, but instead it's a personal foul and stuff. I mean, that's my only issue, but other than that, I mean, it hasn't really been too crazy, so I'll just end it with that.
Have you rewatched the Super Bowl, Matt?
Buddy, unfortunately, yeah, twice now. I've watched it twice now, but it's been very unfortunate both times. And I mean, the good news is after like the midpoint of the third quarter, you can just kind of throw it all out because everything from there was just, both teams knew what was happening. It was over. But yeah, I've gone through that misery a couple extra times.
I only watched it one time, man, and that's it. I can't go back. I can't go back and watch it.
I don't recommend it.
So you're a huge contributor to the draft guide that you guys do at Arrowhead Pride every year. Can you give us like a little sneak preview of what you're doing there, just to try to convince the viewers to go ahead and buy one of those for this year?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, this is going to be the third edition of the KC Draft Guide. And essentially what we're doing with the KC Draft Guide is everybody out there that's a draft fan, they go to Google, you search up a player's profile when your team takes them or leading up to the draft, and you kind of get this list of what they're good and bad at. Like, that's great. So we do that. But then at the end, we're Chiefs fans at heart. Like, it's cool to see what a player's good or bad at. But what we wanted to do is say, hey, if you're a Chiefs fan looking for draft information, how about we tell you how this works for your team? How does this player's skill set relate to your favorite football team? How is it going to fit in with the team that you watch every single week? So we try to focus really heavily on how this player fits with the Kansas City Chiefs. Everything is done establishing what the player is and who they are, but with the goal to tell you how they are going to be, if the Chiefs will be interested, if they fit what the Chiefs are going for. And I mean, so far, we're a little biased, but you can't really get this anywhere else. This is like about the only Kansas City Chiefs specific draft guide that I'm aware of. Maybe you guys, have some others out there that of, and, we won't talk about them or anything like that. But this is just, it's something that I hadn't seen out there when we started this. And it was something we got really excited about. So we're on our third year now. And we love every single person that's gone out there and, supported us during this process. It's been a ton of fun for us, and we love doing this stuff. So it's great to just know how much everybody cares about the same kind of stuff that we do.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man, where it has come from. Like, I remember discussing Kent, like, when he was trying to break it down, like, what he was going to do. And I was like, man, that sounds cool. Like, that's, like, who doesn't want that? Like, who doesn't need that? Like, so basically the Kansas City Chiefs' whole thing was going off the all juice team with Therese, and now we got the draft guide. So, man, yeah, you guys made a lane for yourself, and you guys are doing great with it.
Nah, thank you guys. Yeah, anybody out there, if you're interested, if this sounds good to you guys, I'm going to hit a little shameless plug here, if you guys are okay with that. But if you want to get yourself the KC Draft Guide, the 2021 edition, you can go to gumroad, all one word, .com/KC Draft Guide 21. If you put in the promo code STACHE, that's STACHE right now, you can get it for $8. And you can force my lovely friend Kent Swanson to shave stars into his sideburns this weekend. So, you can go out there, make Kent Swanson look even more fabulous than he already does.
That was great. I like that. I like that promo.
Yeah, I'm about 2 of them now.
For real. I'm definitely going to cop one for sure.
So, yeah, man, congratulations on the draft guide, the AP pod, the AP laboratory show. You guys are doing great with that. And just keep doing the great job, man. And keep being you on Twitter, man. You actually calmed me down a couple of times this week. And you let me vent a couple of times in your DMs. So.
Hey, man.
Oh man, that anytime. Reach out in the DMs. I'm here to talk. I'm bad at Twitter. I get sucked into way too many fights on Twitter. So if people DM me, that helps me not always get suckered into debates on the timeline. I'd much rather just be in the DMs talking to people in a much calmer fashion. So yeah, guys, no, you guys keep doing this. Thanks for having me on. This has been a blast. I'm glad you guys are growing and doing better and better and better here, because this is fun. You guys are doing a great job. Thanks for having me on. Anytime you want me to come back on, just, let me know. We'll find some time to make it work. This was a blast.
Yeah, most definitely, man. We appreciate you.
Definitely will do that. We got to complete the trifecta and get Craig on one time.
Oh, please.
I just want that. Yeah, I want that shiny ball head on. We got to get him on the podcast. But no,
Absolutely.
man, we certainly appreciate you, man. You got a great knowledge and a great love for the game, and go get a draft guide. Code word stash.
That's right.
That's hilarious. So let us out of here, Chuck.
All right, y'all. That will conclude our episode this week of Kingdom Cast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe on all your social media platforms. We'd like to thank Matt Lane again for coming on the show. And until the next episode, we are out of here, people.
Peace.
Peace.